Tisum Sanje Tam Jejeng Redan Jeng Orjam Jabda Kadin Sumba Mibe Bangon Dinjin Lama Dambe Shabje Dere Dama Mibal Koyab de Kebe San Sajin Jasenjo Jesinjela Banje de So Ninji Jimbo Zuden Himede Zene Molam Jimbo Abjada Bekatan Bansin Dusimendo Dimba Tunji Jinang Sanza Omen Chöje Podone de Sum Sanje Kunjeng Oni Rasim Chikung Sum Tunze Ba Zavalame Shabla Sovande Yanti Sanje Kunda Nyamna Ya Kade Sanje Kunge Laben Kun Zavalame Shabla Sovande Dolo Dambe Chula Joenze Kanda Sabji Dongwen Jitina Deshi Sumar Jiba Kansuda Dender Timbe Chujen Chembebji Simbrande bottom gender she Namaya Dambasla Ekidan Lodan Jinke Atram Dada Mekinam Dan Roagunje Daki Chisamba Tamjeke de Dake Chutindo Ya Tatring Atu De La Chutin La Jiang Tony, the Devachina Jive Juche Siade, Tamando Ditinish.
So this evening I'm going to be explaining briefly about 4 causes for taking rebirth in Sukhavati.
All the name is on it. The Devachina Jive Juche and the ship Mashipa Huna, Mundo Devachina Jive Juche and the ship Shuat and the Chirite. Mujila tende chirite ngundo te la ke chimbu go ne ngai namju damba sum se ya de xie de yo de de zan de ke chimbu go ne do ji
So well, that's the main subject of what I'm going to explain. As always, I want to emphasize 3 instructions of the preliminary, main stage, and concluding stage. So to say something about that.
The day in the Zane, Tangato Chushi, Chuni, Shesi the Zane, Chusiade, that's also June the Zeke. Nimbo Chilan Roashibate, that take Hakoya the Kachin Bodis.
So it's important that we understand that Dharma, attending to Dharma, practicing Dharma, is for the purpose of subduing afflicted states of mind within us, delusions, in order to develop antidotes to deluded, mistaken states of mind.
The day you want to see about the Nijang, and it's Lutang Nike, Zos and Chusiabateke, you want to see about Kalekabori. Lutang, so the Simzos in the Chusiatic Chimbodies.
So this gives the mind primary importance. The speech and physical actions are not nearly as important as the mental actions.
The day you want to see Bala, that Dambo, Chugalam and Rodam Rosayade, and it Kunhung Kachia, Kunhung Rale.
So whether Dharma or spiritual practice is outer form, becomes a true spiritual practice, depends upon one's motivation, one's intention.
Bena Luchudal then Sim Tondisia, and the Masonwaka Chimboris. Zubo Chugela Sim Tondula. That Chung Korsamotayata. That the young secret, and the Masonwa, Luchudal dedu, Simtinia, and Nyam the Lukinyam de Yuba. Listen to the going to Chimboris.
So, one thing that's important about the attitude is that we be present. Not that we're sitting in some row of listening to teachings or doing prayers when our mind is out wandering around, going into town, going to the market or something. It's really important to have the mind right there with you on where you're sitting, with your body.
Then cordon the Batibuta Mayimba, now Tatanyambe, Simji Tam Jigachid. 취대 시기 삼바 지난적인 인양 드랭 딱 나가사니 난고 타는 양 심지 탐지게 치등에 취대 니기 삼바 던지 삼노다나 깨진 버리지.
So as I am teaching, I'm also looking inward at my own intentions. I'm being introspective and thinking about why am I doing this? And I'm setting an intention that I'll explain the Dharma for the sake of all living beings, all sentient beings throughout space, not just for the people here. And that's the kind of intention that I would ask you to set, thinking that I'm listening to these explanations of Dharma. I will listen to them to bring benefit, somehow bring benefit to all the living beings throughout the entire expanse of space. And then also, to have a promise in our mind or a determination in our mind that this listening to Dharma is not just for the purpose of going in one ear one day and out the other ear tomorrow. Rather to think about it as something that I'm going to keep in mind and I'm going to put into practice daily for this purpose of bringing benefit to beings throughout space.
다 던지 용할 수도 있잖아요. 던지 용주 되라. 다 던지 용내 심주주 다야 되라. 이니 공동 주셔가 요래지. 공동 정비서 왕도 손에 취제바 이나 르당 아니 그 취대양 취 정비라는 거 요래지.
So this transformation occurs because of the transformation of our mental inner transformation occurs because of transforming our intentions, transforming our motivation. And by transforming our mental intention, then this will cause our verbal and physical practices also to then become true Dharma practice.
So
if we're going to judge the profundity of a practice, it would not be based upon what the words the recitation is or what the physical properties of it were. It would be totally dependent upon what is the quality of the mind, what is the quality of the intention, how pure, how compassionate, how vast is the intention. That will determine what is the quality, what is the level of that spiritual practice.
性的节呢，多个性格杂话节呢，多个杂话个性节呢，性格雅嘎，性格罗马，性格美多，性格热月。他呢性格八卦存在，参马的可能多个性格拉雅嘎的罗马的美多，恰的有些干系呢，可杂话的多个都性了哇。第二呢是，每个性节呢，每个东北性节呢。 민 자와의 민이 되잖아요. 로마다 야가다 메도다 레베 타나 빡빡 준조의 차상의 민이 차되지. 대인되잖아요. 조의 공동 아저 공동 전부지 왕의 송바이나 민지 신의 동부나지 야가다 메도다 로마다 빡빡 차상의 민이 좋아다. 공동 인부 왕의 송바이나 도의 신의 동부다데. 아니 자와다 야가다 로마다 메도다 빡빡 준조 차마데 도의 동부를 차가 유지.
So we can think of it as like planting the seed, where if there was a plant, that when you plant it, because the seed is poisonous, it's the seed of a poisonous plant, that all the different parts of the plant, the stem, the leaves, the seeds, the fruit, that it all, even down to the bark or the skin of it, becomes poisonous. Whereas if it's a medicinal seed that's planted, then a medicinal plant is what comes up, where the stem, the leaves, the flowers, even down to the very skin, the bark of the plant, have a medicinal quality. It's like that with that intention behind the action. That's what transforms all different aspects of it into whatever quality it will be, whether that's virtuous or not.
어때 이제 자네 따다당 아주 류출할 때도 심드니 그냥 냥고 타던 잠배 심지 탐지 랑라와 대반되봐 랑라와 동할 면되봐 지와인도 자네 그 동해가 나들 심지 되는 제자 강자 따디 심지 동하가 나들 심지 되는 치대 네들이 딱熊拿钱的了，去把牙不去洗的，去个头呢，马上那样没上不去，没牙了，确定就洗个上吧，等着就说嘛呢，要不有的去。
Let's bring up compassion in ourselves by contemplating, by thinking, that just as I wish to experience happiness and not experience problems and suffering, so do all living beings. And thinking of the beings who are going through painful, tormenting kinds of situations, painful situations, feeling how sad that is, how terrible that is, letting a feeling of compassion, empathy, come up in our mind for those beings who are in a state of pain, right now, physical or mental pain. And thinking it's for these beings' sake, for the sake of suffering beings, that I will listen and practice these teachings.
나에게 구홍스네, 구홍주스네, 나 좋아 심지 담바셔야 돼.
So this is that first preliminary stage of transforming our intention.
아니 우리 몸이 담바셔야 돼. 다 지난 속에 주님의 요리, 주님의 값을 줄라 자동 지치도. 니 나게 이나야 주시리 값을 줄라. 다 레추의 zulum 라서 봐. 포초다 라서 그 왕대. 근데 많이 봐. 야와 까당 튼바. 라면 롱당 튼바. 근데 지금거는 주시야 돼. 근데 우리 몸이 담바.
Now in the main body of the teaching, the instruction is to be undistracted. So the idea is to keep our mind focused single-pointedly on the subject of what's being said, contemplating, meditating on it. And then from my side also, I need to keep single-pointed focus on it, that I'm not just speaking off the cuff or making up things offhand, but that I'm speaking, exactly according to the teachings of Buddha, in accordance with those, that everything I say is I have to remain single-pointedly focused on that.
근데 지선에 아니 유거드네 와도 몰람. 근데 지 용한테 말라. 다 용이 지선세야 돼. 용화 담바세야 돼. 다들 유네 용으로 왔던데 되지.
And then finally we'll come to the third stage, which will be the dedication prayer that we make in the conclusion.
다 디스는 담바섬세야 돼.
So these are those three instructions of adjusting the motivation in the beginning, being undistracted for the main body of the practice, and then making the dedication prayer at the end.
대승기 청내 주님바이나 주남다랑도 와다. 대승매는 주님바이나 주남다 마인바. 다 주님바이난다 주시바이난다. 사고 르장 주 간르지세바이나 용하게 다 담바승기 지 마진바이나 주남다 마인바란도 하요리. 대인들자네 다 남주
So if we do any kind of practice with these three stages, it will be pure practice. If we do it without these three, it will be impure practice. Now the purpose of Dharma practice is to purify ourselves of negativity and to develop positive energy. This is what happens with pure practice. So if these three stages are applied, it will be, otherwise it won't serve that purpose. So with this preliminary, we'll move into the main teaching for causes for rebirth in Sukhavati.
다 나게 남주 냠린데 다 대치 신랩 아니 오빠가 토니 nga 잡으려면 냠니 대낭 요리 나랑가 냠니 대치기 요리 아니 몇레 추시리 값이양 다 디고니 추시에네 되지 시기 요리.
So this practice of Sukhavati Pure Land and of Buddha Amitabha is my main practice. It was the practice of my root guru, and it's the main teaching that I give.
어때 인도 전에 다다당 아주 제땅 그거네 난취 남부취라 다 마하야나 헤나야나 와자야나 시네 다 특바 숨그 돌아 되지 시기 요리.
Buddhism is taught in general in three vehicles of the Hinayana, Mahayana, Tantrayana, or Vajrayana.
대도 전에 다당 아주 벽 난취 대 아니 다 돌지득 바시 와자야나시도 다 상하 유대 이게 다 믹사가 거니 아니 다 특바 니를 매바게 되니 제바든 파바게 유대 이게 아니 매잡야지 되라 아니 상하 돌지득 바시 이러지.
So in the Tibetan Buddhism's Vajrayana, there is the addition to the teachings of the Tantras, of the four tantric sets.
대주대 이제 사주, 주주, 남주주, 람익주지. 다 대주대지.
And those four classes are called Kriya Tantra, Charya Tantra, Yoga Tantra, and Anuttara Yoga Tantra, highest Yoga Tantra.
다 대주대 이제 주대 다 상하리 상하가 주시는 당 아주 된지 시작이 요리지.
So we call these teachings the teachings of Tantra or secret mantra.
다 상하가 주되라 아니 다 소드 두자되라 라마 예담 칸로시 제땅 거는 남부출라 군초선 이샤이베 토라 벽난 주되라 이네 메바게 믹서를 이네의 요리데 이네 믹서가 거는 라마 예담 칸로시네 자와선데 제발 투모 많이 받들으시게 요리시.
And whereas the three jewels of Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha are the generally relied upon refuges or in Buddhism, in the Tantrayana of Tibetan Buddhism, there's an additional special three of Guru, Yidam, Dakini. These three are seen as the three by which one relies upon for the practice of Tantrayana, through which one develops realizations through the practice of Tantrayana.
다들은 같이 다 라마 걸게 잡만 보면 시야지네. 라마 가라이도 가란 걸 마음보지 시야 되나? 뭐 사세리 되는데 자네 가란 걸 마음보 시야 막고 왔지네. 이당 걸 시야 인시.
So to speak about these three, Guru, Yidam, and Dakini, if I'm going to talk a lot about Guru, then that's going to sound like I'm talking about myself. So we'll just forget about that one. We'll move on to the second one, Yidam.
다 이담 다다 벽 난주라 딱 쉽게 진보지 빼 라바도 지 좋아당 유대지 냠는 시고이나 이담도 빼게 진보지 서유지.
So this idea of Yidam, meditational deity, is extremely important for all kinds of tantrayanic practice, the recitation of prayers and meditation. All of the tantric sets are done on the basis of a Yidam, a meditational deity.
다 이담스야 맹코랑데 심단 라와미바 심당 둘째 이담 때니 남세되잖아 유는 라와미바 가할라시야미바 지와.
So the meaning of this very word, Yidam, means bound to the mind. Yi means mind and Dam means bound. So the idea here is that this is a meditational deity which will become inseparably bound with your own mind, indivisible with your own mind.
다 이담 때라양 이담라 남바 망보지 되지.
So now there's many different yidams, many different aspects, meditational deities.
tat tereng kap sa pape yadam te ani opame te shares.
The meditational deity yidam we're talking about today is Buddha Amitabha.
Ati yadam te nge kari thoni shegen sina sabje tangbo je tangbo shinku yile timba se tinani shegen.
As far as the outline I'm following, these 4 causes for rebirth in Sukhavati, the first of these is bringing to mind Sukhavati, thinking about the Pure Land of Dewa-chen, as it's called in Tibetan, or Sukhavati in Sanskrit, the realm of bliss.
Te ta duze ta karchigo yedam seyade ta tada tendeji ta peno opami seyade karchiri sena ta nga chu duze lade yedam sama de ta yungsa de jawari nga ki yedam zo de jawari nga ri dinani yedam sama de dinani ma yong yurisi.
Now there are 5 Buddha families, 5 Jina families, another title of Buddhas, that all the yidam deities, all the meditational deities are considered as deriving from, being categories of these 5 basic families of jinas or Buddhas.
Pena tati yedam de la sharma jupa.
So in the east there's Akshobhya,
Lorin Jinjung de
in the south there's Ratnasambhava,
nup nawantaye
in the west there's Amitabha,
sang toye jupa
in the north there's Amoga Siddhi,
u number nanje.
and in the center there's Varachana.
So the day in the Chane, Tata Ngachupa Kapsapapa, that Yedam de, that Jawari Nakanani, that Nasi, any nips Kasol Yodeling, in Gombo Pamisiad.
And this Yidam, the Buddha Amitabha, is one of these 5. It's that Buddha from the western direction, called the Buddha of limitless light, Amitabha in Sanskrit.
Tati La de la Kandachi Yurisina, the Mambochi Shomagoa Shene, Trengacho, Tabli Pochila, Ne Bayula, any Oba Katanka, Jalakashi order Tangli, any day Trengachola. Dimdum Mandarande, Trengachu Chumashil, Mona, any Oba Katanka, the Lenjordi, the Editani Jalola Tanka Sham Georgia. That La Korang, then Suzy the Pedachi Korang. Big, that Tanka Tiaju, the remote Dinaji.
Turning around lives on God.
The rest of song. Oh, the one thing that somebody ordered that Tatarang. That was chicken order Tatarang left.
So we have a very auspicious occurrence that happened today, because it was about a month ago that I ordered these tankas of Buddha Amitabha, but they just arrived today, just in time for this teaching. So these are depictions. They came from Nepal and just arrived this very day. So this is a way that we can see what Buddha Amitabha looks like.
That the day in the or it Karisin and Gatushin Hadugu Yudesia, that much to watch in the Karichine, Gatushin Hadugu Yudesia, and that you are Tikong and Dorjechang.
So what if somebody asks, why would I want to go to a Pure Land? Why? What's good as a Pure Land? I'd like to, address that briefly.
That Mambochi says, they in the Tane, that Ngatu choose de, so de, that the Narang to Pumbo Ngala, Pumbo Ngasin, and Sing Tola Yup, Luke Tola Yup, Ngak Tola Yup, Magi Ju, Chixiletang, any Dikpala Sobata. That answer that young Maya watch it. Maya watch it, De Tola, any Chuya watch it. Chu the Nijang, Chin Di Che de, Kisangdang, so she get out, so she told Thompson, the Lichiki cheated on my bar, and it's Sma, that cheat there, it's Smitchy there, Sine, Tangachu Tambo Smas in it, give us Smas in the level.
So what is the purpose of our practicing Dharma? Well, yes, it is to be a good Dharma practitioner, or if we can't manage that, at least to become a better person, to improve ourselves. This is the idea. But as for why we would do that, we would not be for short-term aims such as fame or comfort or wealth, but rather for the future, for preparing for the future and for future lives. So we do think about this idea of future lives being most important. And so it's on the basis of what we could call five aggregates, or body and mind, body, speech, and mind. And it's on this basis that we experience feelings, physical feelings, mental feelings. So when we are involved in various actions, and particularly when we do Dharma practice, then this leaves an imprint upon us, but it's not upon our body, it's not upon our physical body so much as it is upon our mind. And if we classify consciousness into 8, there's a consciousness called the alaya vijnana, the basis of all. And we would say that this is the consciousness upon which the various imprints of actions or seeds of actions are left, or where the reverberation of the vibration of that is left on our stream of consciousness, that basis of all. So as everyone can see very obviously, for sure, that at the time of death, the body is either resigned to the fire, thrown in the water, buried underground. Body, comes to an end. So we're going to wonder, well, then where do imprints of positive actions, harmful, negative actions, where do they go? Where do they get left? So, although the continuum of body, physical body, ceases at that time of death, the continuum of mind, continuum of awareness, does not cease. It definitely continues on. So it's on that continuum of mind, of consciousness, that all the different kinds of imprints of vibrations of positive and negative are left, all of them, 100%. So as well as we've acted in this life, as much as according to spiritual practice or dharma, we've acted, we've lived, that will be imprinted upon that stream of our consciousness. So this stream of consciousness does not cease, it's not interrupted, it continues on. Where? In the different realms of existence. There are 6 realms of existence that are spoken of.
Pena nyawanda chena ta nyawala chawa nyawata ta nyawala soba delechi ti kong ko dong la soba ngosu yu de ba ta di ko de mek tong ko yo mari de sanji ko sung ko nani ta sung ko nani che tawa jin de chi sung ko yu de de zane dele yi chi si den ro ya ri de chi yu de sin nyawa ye da se ya de ta pha che nga ju tong ko yu de mang bo ji ge chi lan de umi la soba dong de la soba de shi ko de khala ju ye da se.
So although we can't see it with our eyes, Buddha speaks of it in the scriptures, of the existence of hells, that it's possible to migrate into a hellish kind of existence, or hot hells, or cold hells, which we can develop conviction by hearing about from the teachings. Now there's another realm of existence, which is the pretas, or hungry spirits, desperate spirits. This is a realm of existence that a lot of people are aware of, that they can see sometimes ghosts, different kinds of spirits. These are the types of spirits in this realm of existence, the one type that wanders on the face of the earth, where they suffer from deprivation, not being able to get enough food or drink. This realm of existence.
Today in the time, musung as a she magua making tonsala, the dundo tang, any melodies in the musung as you. Tangus that I'm chimsang nines in a making tonka yuri, the Ndula Korju Dongar. That Korju Dongar, the Mazeba, the Dushula chick salad Donga Lasso, but a Mambo Shiegomar. That alone in the TV and then Tongo was, then in Madaina, Jeva Donga, Nava Donga, Gava Donga, Shiva Donga, Yaga Nachika Donga Lasso, but the Mambo was.
Then there's 2 realms of existence that we can see pretty obviously, the animal realm and the human realm. In the animal realm, there's the animals that are used. There's some of the worst suffering is the suffering of eating each other. So we can see the kinds of problems, sufferings that are experienced in the animal realm. In the human realm, there are also a lot of sufferings, a lot of problems of sufferings involved in birth, aging, sickness, death.
That's not a slamin siage. The young make Musun Tonsartilla, you married the young, Sanjik Sungut Tindela, and the Yichis in Rodi, Musu Devanda what you use.
And then some other realms of existence that we can't see right off, the realms of demigods and of devas, which again Buddha speaks about in scriptures, and we can understand and develop conviction about their existence from those sources. Now, the demigods experience sufferings in trying to fight with gods, devas above them. In the deva realm, there's suffering of falling at the time of death, because these devas have a certain amount of clairvoyance, or they know when they're going to die, and then they also know where they're going to take birth, and they suffer tremendously from seeing that before it happens and as it happens. Now, when we talk about gods or devas, and you may hear about it a lot in the teachings, and we may think that a state like that is something that's perfectly happy, eternally blissful, like the kind of realm of Sukhavati that we're talking about, but they're not. It's not like that.
Ta ti rei trok te lan roa rei trok te la. Andu senga song kho de na. Ta roa rei trok la. Pe na benang ge pongwa ta de song yi. Benba na na drama ten de ji na kha ka byang na. Drama de tu ge song nim phen na. La dang la mi de de. Ba me ge song nim phen na. Nya wa ta ye da tin ro la so ba. Pe na drama ji te le ju ti na ne ni ji drama ten phut de na. Drama den du si ke jam phir de na tu ko sonim phna la da lami me sonim phna ani nyawa ta ye da tin rong ni som la so ba ta gang ta jang drama pem ban na chu ba na yi ta ti re to ka wa lang khon na ya dung he le ma to dewa cha wa ni ne ma re chi
ani gare ko la ro yo re
pem ba la pe ya ira pem ba na ka nang ka poma ta se poma se na drama tin de chi poma na chi yaw na kho tu ko solim phela la da chi ta kang ta chang re trok re dok ka wa la chi na yang ta dong he la ma to yem ari chi dong ha.
Okay, so but it's not like that. With these kinds of gods, these kinds of devas in this what's called samsara, it's this round of existence. That even if you were to reach that highest kind of state that we're talking about there, of these devas, that you would still be in the round. You wouldn't be off the round. You'd be cycling. And if you reach high points, then you're going to be reaching lower points. So, and so you can think of this example of like you have a jar and there's a bee that you caught in it and it's just flying around, okay? That's what samsara is like. If it's flying around in the upper parts of the jar, then it's like they're in the deva realms or the upper demigod realms where they're flying around in the middle part, like in the human, animals. If they're flying around in the lower part of the jar, then in the hells and spirit realms. But it's like that, not really getting anywhere, wherever it is, just the nature of frustration and problems. So within those 6 realms of existence, it's like that. It's just there's no place, there's no situation that is perfectly pleasant or happy. It's all of this nature of problems, suffering, frustration.
Tati rei trok te la, tan dor di pe ko ni she na, donga ka ran yin ba jum sin ka ri chi na, dume te la, ta chaban de ji donga ji donga, yure donga. Ta ti sung na na, mande pa re shi. De ndi ta ne, la ta la mi ni la, ngun jo ko ne, yure donga tang. Ji dume ji donga ta, yure donga la so ba, ngun jo ko ne me ne yang, ko chaban de ji donga te. Yure. Ani meta tendo la so ba nya wa tendo ko la, she ma go re. Ta yure donga, ke chi lo ma ta ba. Ta tendo ndi ta ne, ta donga sung ko ra yi.
So if we say they're all in the nature of suffering, what do we mean by that? Well, you can think of it in the 3 categories of suffering, of pervasive suffering, suffering of pain, and suffering of change. And whereas these devas and upper realms of existence may not have any manifest suffering of pain as such, they have this underlying suffering of what's called pervasive suffering. The components, the basis for suffering is still there. The causes for suffering are still there. Just having this kind of samsaric form. Whereas if we then look at the human realms, other realms of existence, of course there's so much suffering involved with the change, how nothing stays, nothing is stable, nothing can be relied upon. And then lower realms of existence where there's a lot of suffering of pain. So this is the way we see that all having that nature of suffering, even though it's not all necessarily always painful.
Ta tele mayin ba ane dewa chin se ane ta dewa chin sine tele mayin ba dewa te din deli sate yin ba chinon rosa yure we sine twa tang na ta dewa chin je zo mo tsuk sari ta.
So then if we were to ask, well, is there any other place to go? Is there any other possibility, any other destination? And we say yes. There's a place such like Sukhavati, and that's where we can point our finger to an example of something different than that.
다 근데 이제 전에 대화 진지 신감 써야 돼. 딱 아주 삽주기 신감 즉 사자 집어나지 다들 나신지 좀 뭐 쫓아. 내니 킬로미터 남들 레완데 지라지 남들 뛰가지는 로야 된데 그게 말이지. 대화 진지 신감 써야 돼. 생이 넘버 따네. 생그 드바 넘버 따네. 대 생지 드바 넘버 따고 라지라. 아니 생지 도방원데 죄네. 신감대 생고 돌아온데 저거 이러지.
So now talking about this destination of Sukhavati, it's not like a physical destination where we can describe it in terms of mileage and dimensions and and all of this, and where we could buy tickets to go there, but rather it's something. It's a destination that is reached through the mind becoming purified. So through our awareness, through our mind becoming pure, it's a destination that is reached, that comes into being.
다다 어떤 거고네 장무동당 이동스네 제게야요데 줄라 장동 거 돈이 셰드 대화띠인데 다들 넘지 소라 공부 오바메데 너 소리 요데 라인데 자네 이 사소지 신함 때 늦지라 예삼바 다들 늦지고 호사래지.
Now we speak about Dharma, we can talk about provisional meanings and definitive meanings. Where provisional meanings are an idea that is taught in order to draw someone on into a deeper meaning, towards that definitive meaning. And so in provisional terms, or what we could say like representational terms, we could say that Buddha Amitabha is often that western direction, a Buddha field that is there in the western direction, or Buddha Amitabha, as you see in the Tanka, is residing there.
다티 신함들은 로알시발라 다 주진 가르치 거르시다. 주 가르치 참고르시나.
So if we wanted to reach that place, what would be the kinds of causes and conditions we would need to create?
다 신함 임발라 제거요나 샤르 로 상우 신함 이해될 제거요나 아니 답배나 내가 진짜 신함을 제례장 깔에 카스 이러지. 내가 진짜 신함을 내라고 때는 아주 제토고 이러지. 신함 이해될 깔에 가고 이러지.
So looking at the 5 Pure Lands corresponding to those 5 Buddha families, each Buddha has their own Pure Land. Reaching the other 4 Pure Lands out of those 5 is much more difficult than reaching the Pure Land of Sukhavati, of that western direction, the Pure Land of Buddha Amitabha.
다 산지 오바민지 신함들라 아니 맞다 다 신함 임바 이해되라 아니 갭주 그 추tum다 돼봐. 막게죠 봉고 추tum소와 담보 디지 게롱이 봐. 게롱고 domba 단체 야보송 봐. 게처이 봐. 게출롱고 domba데 딘데 봐 임바. 데이텔라 게와주 그 추tum 야보지 송도 봐. 데이톨 아니 상하게 네 냠네 야보여 봐. 된데지 메봐 이나 신함 이해되라 제마 탑송이지.
So there's other 4 Pure Lands being more difficult to reach. It said that you need to have kept very pure morality, abandoning the 10 non-virtues, or if you're a monk or a novice monk, to be keeping those vows very perfectly, and then also to be very expert in tantric meditation. All of this is required for reaching those other Pure Lands.
단데 산지 오바미지 신함들라 레라오시니 제토고 이러지.
But the Pure Land of Buddha Amitabha can be reached very much easier, much more easily.
가르시네 레라오시니 제토고 이러시나.
So how is that it's so easy? Why?
또 산지 오바미 코란게 상 마제병 뭐나 딱 깔바 망부진데 야스데 깔바 망부지게 값 산지를 진행 보시 딱 코란 거 잡을라만 되지 딘데네 코란 산지를 진행 못해게니 추송나 마 다들 내지 세야 돼 아니 코란 거 뒤값 산지를 진행 먹고 운식은 치네 마음바 치로자 다다데 저 드라미 hit작지 봐. 다 강다데 힘만 나도 되는 지가 값어. 다 지난주 수심진 그 된지게 인시. 이 값을 면 유망락 봐. 유망밥에 망보. 진짜 망보. 체 통통. 담배 취라 고감이 봐. 다는 고용의日지. 이 값을 수심진 그 된지게 인소는 산재는 진행 먹고 막 까나요.
It was because of prayers that Buddha Amitabha made before attaining enlightenment. When many ages ago, when he was studying and practicing with his teacher, the Buddha Ratnagarbha, at one point his teacher, with his clairvoyance, was looking into the future of this time of 5 degenerations, the time of the decline of the teachings, and he asked his disciples, who will help beings at that time? At this time, which he was looking at in the future, which is our time, which he was describing as saying, beings at that time will have very rough delusions, life will be short, there will be little opportunity for Dharma practice. So who will take responsibility for the beings of that time?
갑대도는 산지 오바미다. 디갑서 상지요 말해야 돼. 이내 코란 게 아니 라바지 않아. 다 갑대도 내심지게 된지게 인소나 해랑래시.
So that future Buddha, Amitabha, who was not Buddha at that time, but he was the one that raised his hand and said, I will take care of people at that time, the beings at that time.
아니 다 디갑서 아니 코란 거 쏘네. 다 내와지나 망보지 시고요 말이지. 시고나 시약의 진보리도 이내양 디갑서 다다 공도 시바나지 뉴모라바 체통통 아니 멜라 담치르버 고갑 유니멜리 추시 삼바 이내양 추르버 고갑미바 근데 차대도 다때라 레라비고네 대화진의 집에 유여서야 돼 아니 마까나요 레시대 신학의 진보리 대신은 대화진의 집에 있어.
So he made it a condition for his attainment of enlightenment that it would be very easy for beings to reach his Pure Land during those times because they would have such rough delusions, because they would have so little chance to practice the Dharma. He wanted to make it very easy, so he said, okay, four causes. If these 4 causes are created, then that needs to be enough. So the first of these is bringing that Pure Land to mind, remembering it. The second cause is creating boundless positive energy or merit. The third cause is bodhicitta mind, a mind of universal love and compassion. Then the fourth cause is prayers and dedications. Now these 4 causes are not only specific to Buddha Amitabha practice. All of them are pervasive of Dharma practice, of spiritual practice, are very useful and necessary in all contexts of Dharma practice. Bodhicitta, thinking about the Buddhas, the Pure Lands, making dedication prayers, and so on. All of them are applicable across the board. So just now a brief explanation of what this first cause is of bringing that Pure Land to mind.
Nievese Chinjeta. Any need to nip in Chibachuro Sobata, Gilong Sevan Bamdang, Mamboji Sony. Korang Shinga Kuba Kanji Sony at the Nanjin Sing told some down at the car seat and the Sam Down Matanaya, the La Zo Kujanji. And this was in the Indian Angala. Yadang, Ujikul Kang. Any Bemadang. Nyema, Dawa, Digitola, and in Gombo Bami, Unsutan the Judio, Samba. That's the Samotang.
So to do this, you sit down comfortably, and if possible, you can face the western direction. Otherwise, whatever direction you face is fine. And you think about and you visualize, like in the Tanka behind me, Buddha Amitabha in his Pure Land. And if you can think about it in all the details of the way it's described in the scriptures, of the bodhisattvas around him, the 8 main bodhisattvas, 16 further disciples, and then hundreds of thousands of disciples. But otherwise, even if that's not possible, the main thing is to see Buddha Amitabha there in the space before you, in an aura of light, in an orb of light, seated upon a lotus, sun, and moon cushion. So just visualizing the Buddha Amitabha in the Pure Land of Sukhavati in the space before you.
That so Gombo Bami, Kurangan Duna, and the Meto Pema, and the chicken Duna, and it Tangazo, they watch in the chili capsule. That make a Nargatoni, Chingachi and the Mari, Metok Pema, the Judici, the day in the Chane, that Metok Pema, then the Peman Damakatio and Damajat and Damajela, so but the Nagachila around the Sine. Yo Samba, and then Gombo Bami sing a good battle in Dujanang, Samba.
And think of yourself as sitting inside a lotus. When we're born, when we do take birth in Sukhavati, it's not a womb birth, it's a miraculous birth from a lotus. And so you can think of it as like 1,000 petals or any number of petals, lotus, that you are sitting in, and then with Buddha Amitabha in the space before you, in Sukhavati.
And then the some not down there. Get on going to Judy La, the Ricaps, Jinrina, Chick and Duggan going to Jinrin and Mali Simji Gunja, do their punch and in Jomzel, Una Mali Jim Jinja, Jumdin, 14 in the Shizu Sauce and Chigla Jinria, and the Tula Jinria. Tatan Gombo Obami de Sajuk Fly in the Chane, Sajuk Fla de la, Dunjan Kala, you Samba Samji, Shurang Gombo top deck. Dunjan Kala Pedius, the Gombo top set. Shurang Samba top, the Gombo top deck, Dunjan Kala, you Samba Samji, Gombo Bami Shinkan, and Dunjan Kala, you took so unit.
Now, when we invite the presence of Buddhas, holy beings, there are often words to be recited, like words that Rinpoche recited of you who are a protector of all beings, who see all things just as they are, and so on, where you invoke, you call on the presence of the Buddha to come. But in this case, of the Kriya Tantra practice of Buddha Amitabha, that's not necessary. Simply by thinking of the Buddha in front of you, it's said by the power of the motive of the meditation, by meditative power, that Buddha Amitabha is instantly there. Just by thinking of Buddha Amitabha, there's no need to recite anything. Buddha Amitabha is instantly there. This is a brief explanation of that first cause, of remembering Sukhavati, bringing the Pure Land to mind.
다 레와 작사치 다 신칸 고보바미 송나 랍드 신칸 때문에야 루틴 지와니 주네 아니 지와 지먹갑서니 신칸을 근데 진 로트비 근데 지 용할수 발라 소남 사야케치 모리 니바 소남 사아세.
So then the second cause is called creating virtue or accumulating merit. Now it's said that the person who has merit has all their wishes accomplished. So in other words, if somebody has created good karma, they're carrying positive energy with them, then their wishes are spontaneously fulfilled because of that. If someone doesn't create a lot of positive energy, merit, then that's the cause by which they could migrate into lower realms of existence. Beings that migrate into lower realms of existence is because of not having accumulated positive energy of merit. Whereas if we apply ourselves to this practice of creating positive energy, of accumulating merit, then it will lead us to be able to take birth in the pure realm of Sukhavati, or to ensure that our path will be onwards and upwards from one better rebirth to the next, where we can continue developing where we eventually reach the pure land of Sukhavati. But by creating that positive energy, it's definite that we can reach it.
나 근데 인도 전에 다 소남 싹바들라요. 소남나 싹탐망 보지유도 전에 다다 값을 봐봐도 소남 사시는다 초삭바데 초사 인라 든시야 되가 나는 요리 초사 인라 든마세야 돼.
So there are many ways of accumulating merit or positive energy, but the way we'll use here is the 7-limb prayer, 7-part practice.
다 인도 전에 당보들라 다 디나니. So
there's first branch is prostration or homage. Secondly, making offerings. And third, there's the confession or the purification of negativity. Then fourth, rejoicing. Requesting teachings, and requesting the spiritual masters and Buddhas not to pass away. And then seventh, dedicating the virtues, the positive energy to the benefit of sentient beings, living beings. So now that you've visualized the Sukhavati realm of Buddha Amitabha in the space before you, the first branch then is the prostration, so bowing down. And so as I said before, it's important that all practices of Dharma act as the antidotes to delusion. And so what delusion does prostration act as the antidote towards? Pride and arrogance. Somebody's real arrogant, pride, probably you see how they walk around, they don't bow down too much, do they? They look kind of strange. You can tell that they have this attitude by the way they move and walk. So then I use this as the antidote for that. It's showing homage by bowing down in front of the deity. And second branch of offering acts as the antidote to miserliness and avarice. So we can offer flowers and water before the deity. Offerings also include the charity that we make to people that are in need. So all these different kinds of offering and charity acts as a cause for positive energy to be created.
The Shaba.
The next there is the purification.
That the Pacarena, Mashana, the Patendaka Mare, the Pala, Yunti, Mite, Shapen, about the Dupuyunti in Sondua. The Pala Yunti Uris in the Uris, Garis in a Shan and Daji about the Dupuyuntiva.
So, if nothing is done about negativity, it will remain. It will not be neutralized, it will not be purified. But there's one good quality about negativity, and that is that it can be purified.
And it is Yerawan said, Numba, Tadogin, Jis Yerang said.
Then the next branch of rejoicing acts as the antidote to jealousy.
Pena, that Tado said the Kanachis in a Yinji Gavasibata, Yinji Jimbatawata, Ying Jo, Bamjo Lasobata, Yinachi Lupachayo Pate, ranks him Magashin. Ranjing de la.
So,
So
that the jealousy has that aspect of not being happy about some other person's positive actions, like if they're creating virtue or making offerings, or their wealth and property, not being happy about others' success and happiness.
Rang geta si matap na yang, zupo tsuge de, san chago yo mare, nga dango yo mare, zupo tsuge de ne. Tap ke si na, tap si ji si na, ta gewa yashu de yirang gewa de no. Ngarang geta sa mago sa ni, me yibe geta se ba de la. Chado me ba, rinse me ba gone. Oh, tendre yabo jesong, ngoso tu samba gone. Ngune tendre yabo jesong, te yino, ta garang ri. Tendre yabo jesong samba, tendre jige sing toni, sing ting ni, jig solwa. Korang la jabjunda la masong la tendre shuk chimbo jeslemne. Tendre jig songa yina, ta yirang ngune tero.
So without making a move from where we're sitting in our cushion, our meditation, if we apply very skillful methods, means, mentally, we can create tremendous amount of positive energy. One of the best ways of creating merit and positive energy or virtue is rejoicing. So without any feeling of jealousy or competitiveness towards others, from the depths of one's heart, feeling really glad about the causes of happiness that they're creating, whatever happiness or prosperity they're experiencing, by simply rejoicing in it, by simply being so happy about saying that's perfect. And then also in the case of something to be emulated, think, that I would do that if I could, or I would emulate that also. But being just very pleased about the virtues and the happiness of others is a very easy, effortless way of creating tremendous amount of positive energy, but just knowing this specific technique of rejoicing without jealousy, without competitiveness.
The chamiraga songdoa yinji gewa sepa tupeche, yinji gewa sepa tupeche. De la tado megi sembangne, ine gawe jisi yerang na, de ye suna nyamdo tobar sonsi. Yinji gewa sepa tende ji tu ni kapse. Oh, tende yakbo cheja, samba gewa zama yinba. Ta nga zo ji, me tende pamjir chimbo ji tende ki jitso ya je tangdoa. Me je chimbo tende chi gewa tende ki rosong tangne, labla jaya tang, langa jaya tang. Ene pesha mi ba tende le chi roba chi ya, tende le ya doa, tende yin de zai, di korte la, tende ya ko, ngene samba chi ki sing ting ni, chowa shu chimbo korang la, chowa sing tende dabjo se ne, tende chi se ba yi na, ngarang ke gewa se ma tam na ya, korang ke gewa chashi te ngarang la, gisa de nyamde, suna de nyamde, tobo so doa.
As I said in one verse, that when we hear about someone else performing virtues, if we simply rejoice in that, we create the same amount of virtue that they did. So, like if there's somebody that's, say, very wealthy and is handing out donations to beggars along the road or something like that, without engaging in the same action ourselves, but by simply rejoicing in it, then we we will accumulate the same amount of positive energy that is being created by the person actually engaged in the action.
다 그신 소환돼 봐. 다 그신 소환돼 봤어야 돼. 다 같이 심지 탐지 아니 대화돼 봐. 동할면 돼 봐리. 이 대화 때그 자와때 쪼때 가발 토리시나 신그 대화. 심대화 거 봐라 시발라. 다 추래. 다 나랑 남바 인도자네 남부 취집이 야버리시는 시작해. 얘는 잠벨에는 추로 만나와 만보요리. 이 추로 만나와 던데지라 야랍 장주도 됨베. 라과도 치 딱 가르치 그렇지. 따와다 전타 따르비 유되래. 던데 추로 던든 냐는 시에네. 아니 샘주주다야. 이 추더니 장 신히 라마지 소본지 개긴지 마이나 추디 가시 하고 말아. 대인도자네. 근데 추진 콜로 콜로지. 내가 추진 콜 거야.
So the next branch
이 니보데 추그 니보 추콜 거 같은 니보데 또 먹리도 와. 유모 받다 먹은 니보라.
And the next branch is then requesting the teachings. So we request the inspiration, the guidance, the teaching of Dharma. So what we think about, what we contemplate, is that beings want to experience happiness, want to be free of sufferings, and where does the happiness primarily derive from? The mind, mental happiness. And how can that be experienced? Only through internal transformation, only through spiritual practice. Now I would say only through Buddhist practice, being a Buddhist, but not intending it that way, but but understanding that it's only through that inner transformation. So whatever good religion or spiritual path there is in the world, that it's through understanding that, through putting the tenets of that system into practice for really transforming oneself in a positive way, is the only source from which happiness can truly derive. So if we don't have a teacher giving those teachings, where could happiness come from? So with that kind of thought, with that kind of thinking, then we make the request for the teachings to be given.
And
so what does act as the antidote to confusion and ignorance, the lack of understanding? By asking for the teachings, then it acts as the antidote to our ignorance. And with that, the next branch of requesting the teachers and Buddhas not to pass away, with that same kind of understanding of the source of happiness of beings, and that we pray that teacher, that spiritual guide, wherever they are, whoever they are, giving those teachings, may not pass away, that their life may be as long as possible.
So
then the seventh branch is the prayers and dedication, which is so pervasive of practice. As I've been mentioning, it's always best to conclude with dedicating prayer. Everyone does practice. So you're visualizing Buddha Amitabha in Sukhavati Pure Land before you, and you go through these 7 limbs of homage, offerings, and so on, to accomplish the first 2 of these causes.
Now, not leaving
it as that, but now the third cause, which is all important, is that bodhicitta.
Chetang Goni Tata Sla Dubjite, Jude Oma, Sajuk Lachi, Yin that Tiquachim Simji Tisine, any Drubaina, any Ate Yoga, at Lamik Lamik Yoga, ya, the Dege and Hoyura, Drubtang Chibandoa.
Although the practice of Buddha Amitabha is the Kriya Tantra practice, which from one point of view could be considered a lower class of Tantra, when the bodhicitta is applied to it, it can become the highest class of Tantra, Ati Yoga. So it all has to do with the way that it's practiced, and with bodhicitta, it's completely different.
Teneji Soayina, Madiba in the Tane, Nangchen Adeu Rinpoche Tamchi, Dewachi Jesho. Jedang Tiang, Dangbos Tipa Chim Simji that you say, Rabzo Tavisimji, Denimba Tavisimji. Tama Jabo Tavisimji, Sishiria, the day the Tane, that Rabzo Tavisimji that you say, Gona. 당보 남고 타다냐 심지 탐 흥은에 대화지네지 아니 지대랑아랑 근데지 소아이나 다 심지 나버다 봐 그래도와
So if we were to think, may I be born in Sukhavati, may I be born in Sukhavati, then this is, inappropriate. Being a Mahayana practice, we're not principally focused on our own welfare. So by making the prayer, may all sentient beings, may all living beings take birth in Sukhavati, then this corresponds to the Bodhisattva ideal, that practice that's dedicated to the enlightenment of all living beings. And there's different kinds of bodhicitta or bodhisattva motivations that we can talk about, the shepherd-like, the ferryman-like, the king-like, where the one that gives least importance to oneself is that first one, the shepherd-like bodhicitta, which would seek to usher all other beings ahead of oneself into the state of enlightenment before finally attaining enlightenment oneself. So that's kind of the purest way to formulate it, because bodhicitta puts others ahead of oneself. So setting that kind of intention, that kind of motivation, is this bodhicitta, the third cause. So, part of the prayer that Buddha Amitabha made was that he wanted beings to be able to reach his Pure Land so easily that he said, if someone just prays to me, if they've created these four causes, if they just say my name, I want that to be sufficient for them to be able to reach my Pure Land. So he said, if that can't be, I won't attain enlightenment. So he made that a condition to his own enlightenment, saying that until I can guarantee that beings of this time will be able to reach my Pure Land, having created the four causes, simply by saying a prayer to me, simply by saying my name, I will attain enlightenment. Otherwise, I won't manifest enlightenment. So then he manifested enlightenment, thus bringing this kind of quality into being.
All the name is done. That Zochia de Sangha Sia de la. You Zochia de Sangha Tamala Karesina, Sangha Mube Debsine, Debata Muba. That the Pamasi Sangha Sia de Mubata Deba. So the package more.
In the practice of secret mantra, for the accomplishment of Tantra, what do we consider the most important factor? It's faith, It's conviction. The amount of aspiration and conviction, the faith, that is the most important force, the most important factor for the accomplishment of tantric practice.
There's
lots of stories to tell about this. How much time are we having? Rinpoche is thinking we don't have enough time to go into some of these stories. Maybe I'll take one story at a time. So in an early era, there was a great Sakya master, Drubchen Chöje Rinpoche. He was a great pundit of the Sakyas. So he was one of the most famous masters of Tibet. So he went one day to where there was this river.
딱 그런데 드라 차만 친거예요. 다당 알아서 지 제당을 거네. 딱 드라시도 있잖아요. 딱 리번네 내 총난이 시에가 드라를 봤어야 돼. 이 드라이나니 메이게 드라시에 막고 와야 돼. 딱 빼나 메다다 롱다다 추다라서 받아. 사다 시 된저그 드라이게 그랑 참 하고 이래. 개봤더니 쳔보지. 드라이통. 막 드라이통 하고 그런 거.
그냥 계속 하나? 추당.
추다다 메다다 롱다 된저그 드라가래라고도 참 그랑 하고 이래.
Okay, so high masters, it said, can understand not only the language of human beings, articulate language, but they can understand the language of elements, like the waters and the fire and the wind. They can understand what the elements are saying.
And you might tell a song and the chut, I don't know, chut, march, chut, dollar. The Jalo Chudadwa, or that day that dilemma to your marriage.
So he went to this where this water was rippling by in the stream or river, and we would only hear sounds like this, like in the background here, the fountain, that gurgling sound of water.
Korangati choi dadela. And on bezer kilaya sawan being on the bahon pace. On bezer kilaya sawan began bahon pace. When they injit the day, the yin should drat the madawachi. On bezer kilaya sawan being on the bahon pace. Perbakalaya, Nimbak drat in the coy is korang.
So he could hear that the water was making the sound of Vajra Kalaya's mantra. On benzi kili kilayang sambing and bahon pace. Oh,
that's
the real way you say it, but the water I think was mispronounced. Oh, but the water was mispronouncing it slightly. Or the water wasn't saying kili kili, it was saying chili chili.
That koranga sano tande that longba ka ti put in the mara, chuyong saka longba put in it. Pelbar ka thona ni pelbar gomja ne meze klaya gomja biele te lama chimboji pe nyamne yaboji lama ji yusari yina yang lama de jie de de sa yaboji ya de yaboji sa ma de sa korang te ha ko le.
So as he heard this, he realized, there's a yogi that's up where at the source of this river who's a great yogi doing Vajrakalaya practice. But it seems that his pronunciation is a little bit off. He's slightly mispronouncing. Seems like his tongue might not be so flexible.
And that is and rogging inside any. That Korang Yadam de Bajakalaya. Sub Indian the Koranga Yadam de Yadam Tola. Yadam Sharmambo Zig digitary. Yadam was Mother Mentep and Tebana, you say digitary.
So the Sakya Master Drubchen Chöje Rinpoche also practiced the yidam, the meditational deity of Vajrakalaya. And so he was thinking, well, I think I have to go up there someday to meet this yogi. And he Drubchen Chöje Papa had many visions of Vajrakalaya. Just like he met with Vajrakalaya just like speaking to another human being.
And the church day, that church junior, church Zati and Song, and the city. Dr. Lomba, the church booked in the mother, a Trapochiganana. And the number of the Tarimbo, the Lamachi, and the Trapochigan and Gomjan.
So he followed the river up, and eventually he came to the source, and there was a cave there, and there was a yogi meditating inside with long hair all the way down to the ground. So he went there to this yogi and asked, so what Dharma practice are you doing? He says, I'm reciting Vajrakalaya mantra. So Drubchen Chöje Papa asked him, recite that mantra once, would you? And so he was rather old man and also kind of hunched over, and the way he pronounced the mantra was quite difficult, and like Rinpoche just did. And Drubchen Chöje Papa said to him, this was Sakya Pandita we're talking about, another great Sakya master, another great Pandit of the Sakyas. He said to him, oh, no, you're mispronouncing it. Then so the yogi said, Sakya Pandita. Yogi. The yogi said, no, I'm saying it perfectly. So they got into a bit of a debate, an argument, where Sakya Pandita was coming at it more from the conventional representational side to the provisional meaning, saying, oh, look, here's the way it's written in the text. I've heard many teachings. This is the way you say it. You don't say chili, chila, you say kili, kili. But the yogi was coming from the point of the definitive meaning, where his mind was inseparable from the deity, and he was just saying it right out of the deity's mouth. Remember, I didn't say that exactly, but he said the definitive. He was coming from the definitive point of view, where he knew definitively, and so he was coming from that side. Sakya Pandita was coming from the provisional side, and they had a kind of debate on that basis. So from the point of view of the provisional, representational teachings, yes, Sakya Pandita was very learned. He'd heard lots of teachings. He had it correctly, and the yogi said, "You're right. I lose. In this realm of the debate, you are absolutely correct." But then the yogi said, but let's have another debate on the level of the definitive meaning. Okay? Sakya Pandita said, okay.
Yogi yalang.
The yogi stood up with his kila, his dagger. So that's the symbolic of the deity.
Jili Jie Laya Sawan Bingane Ba Hong Page. That Uma Koran Karet, Nibatanga, and this is Tang. Ngayang Jili Jilai, Dayang Jili Jilai. Umayang a Jili Jilas to me, Tatay Jili Jilas in the Gains. And this is the Dala. Drat and Dura, Dala. Papa Dabis, Papa Dabdi, Dragon and Papa Thomas social race. Any sap in the Dage? That deny his is a young Koran Papa and the Jizok so long day. Ngayang Gulakalais, Dayang Gulakalais. And this is Dala and this is Papa Damned. Papa said Dala Damned, Metat, and the Dala Mazol is here. Me. That Jata Doni Jad, the Metzong. And it muzzle get here.
Okay, so the yogi, he stood up and he took his dagger and he said the mantra just like he said it before on Benji Chili Chile. He says if it was Chili Chile before and it's Chili Chile now, then when he took the dagger and he drove it into this boulder in the inside the cave, and the metal dagger just buried completely in the stone. So then Sakya Pandita thought, okay, well, I'll do the same. So he said it just perfectly the way he knew it, and said if it was Benji Kili Kila, Benji Kili, if it was before Benji Kili, now Benji Kili, then, and he did it, and the purva, the Kila, the dagger, didn't go into the stone at all. Just like hit the stone, there was a spark that flew off the end.
All the day in the journey, that is all got a thing is in a Dege. That Yichi. Sangha. 去习写的啦，这当个呢，王不能不的写个月的，因那样去有的搞是，即他台巴的仪器，台巴的仪器，龙波台巴技能了，但是错过我都没送到啊，即台巴的龙波等的，错过呢都没得了，但我呢仪器当某的台巴等的就有把伊呢，龙波等的就龙上国上的国营的就有那样，是他的用会有啥的去。
So this illustrates that importance of the conviction, of the deep faith in the practice as being the key to the tantric practice. Because now, well, in general, the tantric practice of secret mantra, is taught for the benefit of those of the sharpest faculties, those of the highest faculties. Still, the faith and the conviction is most important, even more important. If there's two people practicing, one of who's very learned and wise, and another who's quite stupid, if that person with its kind of simple-minded has tremendously much more faith, much more conviction, single-pointed conviction, they will accomplish the practice much more quickly than someone without that kind of conviction and faith in the practice, even if they're more intelligent or smarter.
Oh, the name said that the name is on it. That Devachina, that Pena, that I'm a Jirang Sherry, can this is Jerry, I say Jerry. I saw when it jiggy in the magic dinner.
So if we were to wonder now, how would I take birth in Sukhavati? Is it really possible to take birth in Sukhavati? Yes, I can say it definitely is.
Ben Devachina Jerry, Juji, Manyambagoni. That they bought a more easy scene. Taking me by Dubayina, that Jerry's.
Creating these four causes continuously, without decline throughout one's life, focusing on it single-pointedly, definitely you take birth in Sukhavati.
By now, that young Papiuni, just swam on boy, that Bangun Papa Ludrip, that when there's Handiniba, that Konda Jinayang, Satambo. Radugawa, the Dege, Tobachi, the Songoyuri, and the Kongayang, Tangan and Denim and the Devachin just hold on, so many, Devachin the Jason, the Deshiari. Young Papiuni, teaching the Lama Tamba Mambochi, and the Devachin the J. 지와당 랑 지와당 마세 심지 동설만 보네 대화 진지 신하는 당와 내치야 요리.
So there's many accounts of beings taking birth in Sukhavati. For instance, Nagarjuna, great master of India, who was said to have attained the first of the Bodhisattva stages, of the joyful stage. He So he took birth in Sukhavati. Then many other beings have taken birth in Sukhavati.
아니 배 간신이 종네나 다 드랍제바 드르지 값에 지방령아 딴 거를 못치 너무 빼만 종네 값. 다 드랍제바 드르지 값에 있나요? 딴 일남자완 초양 라소바 아니 라마 망보지 땅 라바드 다 제다니 침보 아니 깔마바테 진시바 깔마바 다 대진시바 아니 드가나지 깔마바 금탱가바레 대진시바
Then many great beings of Tibet also have taken birth in Sukhavati, such as Desongkhapa, the fifth Karmapa, Mikyu
깔마바 대진시바
Dechen Shekpa,
nga바레 깔마바 금탱가바
fifth Karmapa, Dechen Shekpa.
아니 드가나지 참미라가 악세
And then Karma Chagme, the great Kargyu master. There's been many beings that have taken birth in Sukhavati. And also in the 8th century, Rinpoche mentioned the disciples of Padmasambhava, 25 major disciples. Many of them took birth in Sukhavati.
아니 별간지 좀나 해럽 니딩게 주미 연락은 힘분 지민 부서로 뭐지 딱 공개야 냠니 되는 거 유리시 공개야 냠니다 대화지는데
So he was one from our current generation who practiced the previous generation who practiced Buddha Amitabha and took birth in Sukhavati.
땅을 잡을라마 다 남중에 시에대 나랑 잡을라마다 지네 나랑 오니 산지 산주선방 의지를 준다 산주선방 의지는 나랑 근근지 쉬어요. 공도지나 무슨 들렸냐니 나리. 때에전에 대화진의 제유바 나랑 이치유시.
And I also know that my root guru, who I recognized was an actual living Buddha, took birth in Sukhavati when he passed away.
다 대화진의 지야데 된다지 다 된다리 다 빼나 델레 라서지 가서 다들 좋아당 상하가 좋아 아니 공부 밤일에 된다 냠니 아버지 세바이나 상하라 치추가에 위해서 친들라니 상제해야지 친들라니 야루를 접어야지 대양 다 좋아한다지 라다 다당 가서 냠니시가 요리 좋아한다지 가니 다 상제가 요리지.
And on the basis of this practice, like we do of the Buddha Amitabha meditation and recitation, it's possible to even attain enlightenment within this very lifetime without even giving up this body.
배를 첸들라 상제에서도 아니 진짜로 죽을 성서도 줍다당가를 줍보 락바가 듣긴 차상되니 딱지 땡네 아니 따다 시몬이 집었다 맞지 살지 않아.
Where our gross body it transforms into a body of rainbows, of illusory light rainbow body, where we just leave this life like that in a rainbow, with only the dead parts of our body remaining, the fingernails, the hair. Otherwise, nothing being left on the meditation cushion than those.
다 던데 망보지 담배 춘 들렸디 예담 들렸디 냠린 들렸지 신데제네 다 대하야 상제 선바리 다다야 상제 진바리 마음발아야 소승은의 주인듯이 냠린 야보 세바이나 레바 미바 말이 가솔 레바 유리시.
So this has been accomplished by many beings, present time, past time. If we persevere in the practice ourselves, it will happen in the future also.
어떤 데인데 자네 다들행에 대고니 다 대화진의 집에 저 당부 신고 일을 좀 이바기 잡아미서 벗어 산초도 치어지바 디스음데 마시에네 되게 유어들라 네 당가서 지난주로지 다 오아메 대화 칭하 그 롱주 망아서 냠데 들지 되나 상송세.
So having finished explaining the first three of these causes of the bringing the Sukhavati Buddha field to mind, creating boundless positive energy, and then developing the bodhicitta, mind of universal altruism. I had the idea that at this point I would give you transmission of Buddha Amitabha's mantra, and we could recite that a few times.
당근보 오바미게 간드송유레시나 나머리는 짜야 너무 방가다 아미따바에 따탕 가다야 알아대 사연선보다야 때야도 아메때 아메뜨바 아메때 삼바와 아메때 메진데 아메때 간만난 간간다 뜻거래 사와 깔레시 체양깔에 소하시 띵하데 아린슈 띵하데 담든지 난칼랑 건보 오바미 유도요 사바세 아니 소수다다 공대시 바나지 인라데 바세 아니 싱구토네 산초고 싱구토 나고 타다냠베 심지타 지 대화지는 마치고 반대 냠리시기 사바 다 디스 저스름데 창와시 대서 냠데 아니 모아들라 마토로 흥나 아미 대화서 다 종나 다다 nga rin슈데 마종나 아미 대화서야 돼.
So this was the long mantra of Buddha Amitabha. So as we're doing this practice, we visualize Sukhavati, Buddha field, with Buddha Amitabha in the space before us. We've done the 7-part prayer practice. Then with that bodhicitta motivation, thinking I'm going to do this practice until all living beings reach enlightenment, then if possible, recite that long mantra, but otherwise there's a shorter mantra that you can recite.
다 들으지 인도잖아. 아니 내 남보 지랑초라. 내가 사바 강산 요리 대인도잖아. 님바 컨트하고 요라 대인도에 사바 지랑초다. 냠데 다다디 nga dibate ko longju man de ngi ene de chirang ji ji shosi.
So for people that are new, that have never received it before, I'll give the transmission along with the people that already have it.
De jin de ju jian golo gol sim jin na la da de do ji ze dam che she jin lo jam ze ba nan da nyam yang de la sam sa lo. Om Ami.
Om Ami.
Deva Shi.
Deva Shi.
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 Om Ami 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 Deva Shi.
다다 그냥 공도 쉬지 봐 나지. 넌지 남칼랑 공부 오빠미 무슨 삼바직.
So, like I've been saying, you feel that Buddha Amitabha and Sukhavati is there, actually present in the space before you.
니 되라. 아니 지난저 무슨 여행 취바 따다당 가서 있는 취바 향유에 대해 고추지시. 아니 이제 주변 취바 아니 지난저 그 이제 뚫는 데시네다. 지 근데 취반 베트남 매도 당 라서 받던데 자신 납니다. 다시 답지 라서 바이난다 다 간다지네. 데리체 이바데.
And then secondly, of the 7-limb prayers, primarily those offerings that are made, and you'll have some offerings that you've actually physically put out of water or flowers or fruit and so on, or incense, and then also mentally emanated. You visualize, envision offerings filling the space being offered. So that's that second part.
아니 난 주반도 주지. 다 이난데 막 차상도 도와이나 야보레데 이는 주반나지.
So if you can do the entire 7.7-limb practice, that's great. Otherwise, you can mainly emphasize this offering, this making of offerings out of the 7 limbs.
아니 숨바데라. 딱 다당에 공도 시바 난 이바리. 당봉아 소치 대화진의 매바다 이친데 세고나 호화를 임종지하게 했지 뭐래. 임종세야다 간르시나 다 공도시바나지 로아를 죽들라 다 레레진도 삼모당바이나 대화요바 지요 말해. 다 참아 동해 그라지. 이 동해 그라지 이제 자네 다 텔레 탄나째 말아. 다 대화진의 찌는 말아 삼바. 지 효 삼바. 다 던지지 거네. 지당대양 다 델라양 산집 생괴. 다 남건 타다냐 심지 담지 당보지. 아니 유건가 안지. 어때인데 자네 주스 마사 주고 생괴 예답.
So in that, then the third part of meditating on bodhicitta, the first part of it is renunciation, which means that, like was describing before, of thinking about how all those realms of existence within samsara, that there's no stable, pure happiness, no sustainable happiness to be found. There's all this nature of suffering, and thinking, why can't I get free of that? How great that would be if I could get free of that conditioned, continual round of suffering. And so feeling, having that feeling, and then on the basis of that also then the bodhicitta comes, which is having the same kind of feeling for others. If only all the other beings could be free of this kind of suffering cycle. So in that way we develop the bodhicitta, the third cause. So again, we'll recite a few times the mantra.
Amen Deva Amen Deva Amen Deva Amen Deva Amen Dege 다른 되지 남칼하고 뭐 밤이 죽대 봤대. 아니 어제 공부 그쳤대. 깔세 말장 카도 앙아 공부 그쳤대 쳤네죠. 어더니장 소수집이 쪽으로 마템. 아니 니가 빼만 남아 지가 토라. 아니 공부 밤이 죽 송사 봐. 공부 밤이 거당 랑걸리. 공부 밤이 송당 랑가. 공부 밤이 투당 랑가 심. 아니 지바 차송 삼바 다 강달장 공부 밤에 그 송투지 슬랍 소비자와 세다게 슬랍 진짜 느슨 지 툴러에 삼바다 인지다 돈이가 따와라서 봐 차창와대 아니 랑가 주라 톱송 삼바 어떤 데 지사노다.
소소인가라.
소소인가라.
구충충 야면에 우자.
Good. Good.
So now visualize that Buddha Amitabha and Sukhavati before you, melting into five-colored light, rainbow light, white, yellow, red, green, and blue. And that light coming to the crown of one's head and entering the crown of one's head, passing down to one's heart, inside one's body, the heart chakra. And there, again, taking the form of a small Buddha Amitabha, seated on an 8-petaled lotus at your heart chakra. And feel that your body, speech, and mind are becoming completely inseparable from the body, speech, and mind of Buddha Amitabha and all of the enlightened beings, that all of their qualities of power, of compassion, of wisdom are becoming indivisible with oneself, that that their qualities of compassion, their insight into nature of ultimate reality, that all of that, integrates with one's being, becomes inseparable from oneself. And meditate for a minute on that.
어다데게 주스마 저 당보 니바 스마 대다 지지바데 당가 주게 자야고 사레 내 지란소를 주시에 지란소가 주 동네 데려 용네 계지 둔신세네 주님바리 아니 대다 찹직도 아니 지란주게 자 사야고 내게 자 사야고 마터바 이게 자와데 냠데 아니 데 나고 타다 냠베 심지 탐진도서 내와진지 치되네 뭐가 삼바
So with this we complete the three causes and we move on to the fourth cause of the dedication prayer. So we've created positive energy through explaining the Dharma, through your taking the time to listen to it. And so with this positive energy that we've created together, we make a dedication prayer that it may become the cause for all living beings to take birth in Sukhavati pure realm. So meditate like that, think like that, and I'll say prayer to that effect.
다 다른 가서 주된 된다인. 좋아한다 유나. 근데 매일 아닌 가서 두잖아. 주주 땡스를 못 찾아.
So that's the session of the discourse and practice tonight. If anyone has any questions, you could ask a question. We've carried on a bit long, I think.
What's the significance of the rainbow exit? What's the significance?
아니 미 곰첸 자루 톱소나. 디 가르스. 자루 톱나 가르스. 상계로.
자루 톱나 상계단 야슈들이시. 성나 체질의 상계 바생 아주 체질의 상계 체질 류질의 세계가
양 고수 상계에서는 구순가르스 양하고 말와 상계그레스 람나 다때 가서 구순 가르 상계가 말와 구순 축구 롱크
알아 다때 가서 우리 다 상계단 야슈의 전달의 상계로 제시는 세계요리 근데 인도 자는 상계단 야슈지레시 다 상계에서야 돼 르드틴 데 때네 상하 출란 메바다 냠네 야보지 세바이나 르드틴 데 때네 자르 추거를 시와야 돼 상계단 야슈지레시.
So what that signifies is that person has attained enlightenment, complete enlightenment, where even the gross elements of their body have completely transformed into light. So it means that they've become a Buddha, become a fully enlightened being with all that references. And it's like considered the best, because I mean they've done it in this very lifetime, you know, in this very body, without even going on to another life. Without leaving this body, they've attained enlightenment. So attainment of the rainbow body, that's basically what it means. That person has attained enlightenment in the swiftest possible way. Okay. Was there another question?
No.
I'm sorry, I'm full of questions. I don't have an understanding of reincarnation, so my faith isn't as strong, and I'm wondering if Rinpoche could please offer a thought or inspiration that could help me make that leap.
이제 시다 책임에 이제 제 누구두스 그냥 이제 that's 충분히 인상 대바 시다메 대바 슈첨보메 저는 rinpoche ngala 이 케와 같이 이제 제하게 탑시 수로나스
다 이치셔야 돼 소수랑 똑고 돈네 배나 다 지방합실에 이치셔야 돼 다 소수 응원에 배나 딱 제세네 다 같이 나 뭐만 돈요 아까 소마한테 마음부지게 다다디 decision하고 초하대 빠 주는 못 돈나 동라만 못 돈는 된대 그래 다 은혜 기자시에 되는 시도 제가 스마는 아이 침매다서 아테죠 깔레잖아 근데 가르치 되는데 신강 가르치 깔레잖아 저기 다 체스마케 말랑나 주대 가르치 되는 게 있어도 다 선바지보 넣어서 안달에 미시 다 시에지 뭐 와 되는 데서 괜찮다 중에 통소 준로당다 됐어거라 근데 이제 자네 다 이치셔야 돼 소수 그지라 또고 토네 당연히 지 시에요래 시간도 와 실리값을 공도 시바나지 르메와 차가요리 샘띵디 메와 차주면도 다 샘메 손에서야 속한 그 루지야네 메디 셔탈냐도 세요 말이신데 루지야네 메지야겠다 타지네 시토고요 말 다 유리값을 요당대 샘로당대 레 간나니 그 토라 개와도 득바니 그 토라 박차 디그 토라 디 톱대게 양나 마로 유리 양나 양로 다탱은에 린도삼바 던데지가 돈은 용화거라 돈다지 제토는 야보요리지 미시당 내지 주랑 랭기 미니 제와서 말에 이치 제걸 때 마치는 데가 말이 엔디시 제걸 시네 속잡는 야보요 말와
Well, I can say things, to encourage, ways of thinking about how, that could be. You're not the only one. I have other students that have that kind of wondering or don't understand it or don't have faith in it. Even some that have recited the prayer with me thousands of times, But when I start to actually talk to them and see, they don't actually believe, in past and future lives, and I ask them, well, why are you doing this practice? Why are you putting all this effort into, praying for what's going to happen in future lives? And they don't have much to say in answer except to say, well, it's nice, it's peaceful, or something. But it doesn't really accord with the procedure in Dharma. But it's something that needs to come about through your own investigation. It's nothing that I can sort of, it wouldn't even be good for me to try to force you to, to believe anything. But it has to do with you have to really examine it for yourself and come to that conclusion through the force of your own logic to really have belief in it or conviction in it. But it's like I was saying before, at the time of death, body comes to an end, but the mind does not. Mind does not, its continuum is not interrupted. It continues on. And what, through the force of what does it continue on? Karma. Whatever those imprints are that's been imprinted with to the past actions will carry it on to either positive realms of existence or painful realms of existence. Could anyone prove that it's not the case? That mind stops when the body stops? No, nobody can prove that. But it's something that you have to kind of investigate through your own logic and experience to see if that makes sense. And then once you have some understanding of it in your own experience, then you can have conviction and belief in it. But it has to come through your own investigation and your own study.
Thank you. Good question. Okay. That's one.
Okay, so that's...
Okay, good night. Thank you.